Right.
So, okay, at what point do you actually start meeting DJ Screw and all that?
That had to been, we have conflicts on that. I say between 88 and 90. My little brother said about 89, 91
Hmm.
was when we first. Well, I actually met him through. We had a little partner. His name was Winnie Fufu, is who I call him. And I asked him, him and his brother Tootie, y'all know any DJs? Because we need a DJ for the group. And they were like, man, we got this cat. I know this cat. He went to Sterling with me. His name is DJ Screw. And I'm like, DJ Screw? And I said, okay, well, give me his number. So I called him up. We had landlines back then. We didn't have cell phones. I called him up and talked to him, and he said, well, he gave me his address, 10201 Quail Meadows. I believe it's apartment 100 maybe.
100, yeah.
Yeah. And so I come over there and knocked on the door, and he let me in. His DJ system was set right there by the door. And over by the bar area was LD. Right, so this was my first meeting with the cats. And I'm looking at his system, and I'm like, God damn, to myself. I'm like, damn.
So you meet Screw and LD at the same time?
At the same time,
Yeah.
right. They were both in the same, at the apartment at the same time. So that's how I met up with him. That's what led up to me meeting a Screw and LD.
Yeah. So when y'all first meet, does he become the DJ for the group, or is it just a meeting that just kind
It
of?
was a meeting at first, but then he eventually became the DJ for the group. But he was with HBU a few years before that. So this was not his first rap group that he was with, but it was one of his first. Maybe he didn't really mess around with that many rap groups as far as my knowledge. It's HBU, and then there was LOD, and I know we didn't do anything. We only recorded a few songs before we realized that we just really didn't have the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? It takes knowledge. You got to understand the business side of the business of entertainment, and so that's basically the format that reason why we hooked up with Screw and how we hooked up with Screw.
Yeah, yeah. And so at what point does it become like a working relationship between the two of y'all?
This happens a few years later. I'm at Club Boomerang. Maybe it was Boomerang by this time. It used to be a club called s.u.c Village. It was the hottest club in Houston. I put that club together with
What was
Patrick
s.u.c
Moore.
Village at?
4530 Holmes Road.
Holmes,
Right
okay.
there in the hood, sunny side. It was the hottest club in Houston. It held over 2,000 people, and we promoted everybody, promoted shows, concerts from everybody from Lauryn Hill to Ice Cube.
No shit.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. Back in them days, whoever was hot, that's who we did. And Screw was actually one of the first American DJ because it was a soca club at first for the West Indians. And the owner of the club wanted to turn it from West Indian soca to hip hop. So he come to the other club that me and Screw was at, which was called Club New Jack, one of Ray Barnett's joint, that me and Screw was actually in partnership with. And he asked, would come over and ask us to come to his club and turn it from soca to hip hop. And some things happened between us and Ray, and so we packed up and we went to s.u.c Village.
Y'all had a disagreement or something?
Yeah, we had, with me and Ray Barnett and Screw, we had a disagreement. It's always about that money, that dollar bill.
Always.
And so we left him and took our clients, our customers, because we were the promoters of the club, so they go follow the promoter. You see what I'm saying? They ain't not gonna stay with the club, they gonna come with the promoter. So I brought them everybody from Club New Jack, which was the hottest after hours joint. It only held like 155 code, but it could be anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 people around the circumference of the club, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday back in them days, so it was the spot to be. And so I took that crowd, brought them to s.u.c Village. And Screw was basically the first American DJ, but he didn't stay there long. It wasn't his passion to DJ in the club, so he only stayed a little while. I don't know how long, maybe a month or so, and then he went to doing mixed tapes. and it wasn't, regular mixtapes. It wasn't screwing at the time, right? And so, that's how, that's our introduction into the club scene. And so one day I'm preparing because I was also the bar manager and promoter for the club, and I get a phone call and it's Screw, and he's like, "Hey man, I got this deal with Big Russ, man. Big Russ, owner of Big Tyme,
Big Time
CEO of
Records.
Big
Right,
Tyme."
right, right.
And I knew Big Russ because he and I went to TSU together for business and finance. So I knew him, before, I actually had this meeting with him pertaining to this joint that we were going to do with Big Tyme Records. And he said, "Man, I need you to come and manage this deal for me." So I was like, "Okay," because we severed our ties at this time as far as him DJing for the group. You know what I'm saying? So he was no longer the DJ for the group at this time. And so then we met up with Russ and we, ironed out a few things and came up with an agreement, and then that's what led up to
Rush actually told me about this meeting. I think it was where he wanted like $400 or something like that to do the. I think Russ told me it was like where he wanted like $400 or something
I
to do
don't
the
remember
project.
the
You remember
financial particulars.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even lie.
Yeah.
That was so many years ago and so much drugs.
So were you involved? Because you had kind of alluded to that. Were you involved with like drugs early on back then?
Nah, marijuana, which is not a drug, by the way, and Hennessy was our thing. Marijuana and Hennessy.
He just smoking and drinking Hennessy at this time. Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we ironed out the deal, and we put out that All Screwed Up Part 1 and Part 2. And that hit pretty good, hit pretty well, so much so that it created a buzz in the industry.
Could you describe DJ Screw at this time? You better describe his personality or like just type of
Laid
person
back.
Yeah.
Laid back. He was always laid back. I've never seen him raise his voice. You know what I'm saying? As portrayed. I'm not gonna get into that, but the Screw I know.
You talking about in the movie reference?
Yeah, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever you call that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not here to hate on nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I lived that. You know what I'm saying? And so I know what I'm looking at. You know what I'm saying? And it's my perspective, from my perspective only, based on my experience, right? So let's get that understood, all right? But he was always laid back. I've never seen him raise his voice. Even if he was displeased, it was quiet. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't dramatic and deep. You know what I'm saying? He was straightforward and simple. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, based on what I saw in the movie, that wasn't an accurate portrayal of him. From my perspective.
From your dealings with him, yeah.
From dealing with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe from Nick Nack, which is my first cousin who he dated. They were together for so many years. Maybe that's the way that was her experience.
Donnie Houston.